The village of Rupnagar lay cradled in the shadow of the great river Padma, its lifeblood, its muse, and its occasional tormentor. Here, amidst the mango groves and the scent of river mud, lived Jamil. At 12, he was a boy of sharp eyes and quick laughter, still accustomed to the protective warmth of his father, Rahman, a man known for his kindness, if not his wealth. His sister Aisha was a shy 8-year-old whose world revolved around her elder brother. Jamil's idyllic world shattered with the sudden, cruel swiftness of a monsoon squall. Rahman, strong one day, succumbed to a fever the next. The tragedy was swiftly followed by a deeper social calamity. Rahman had died before his father, the family patriarch. According to the archaic and unyielding local custom of inheritance, a son who predeceases his father is legally considered to have no standing to inherit. The land, the ancestral rice fields, the small homestead, passed entirely to Jamil's uncles. The cold finality of their dismissal was harder to bear than the grief itself. Jamil, his mother, and Aisha were effectively landless and homeless. Within weeks, they were bound to leave their ancestors' house, carrying only a bundle of clothes and the heavy weight of injustice. Their only refuge was the house of Jamil's maternal uncle, Karim, in the village of Shantipur. The journey was a walk of shame and sorrow. Every step away from the Padma felt like a severing. The struggle at Shantipur. Shantipur was not Rupnagar. It was drier, smaller, and lacking the grandeur of the great river. Uncle Karim was not cruel, but he was poor, burdened, and reluctant. 3 extra mouths meant 3 extra burdens. Jamil understood this unspoken tension instantly. He watched his mother, a proud woman, shrink with every humble request. Jamil, barely a teenager, knew his childhood had ended. School was impossible, survival was paramount. His first job was collecting fuel wood from the marshlands, a task that earned him a mere handful of annas. His fingers bled, his back ached, but the money went straight to his mother. He graduated to washing tea stall cups, then assisting a fisherman named Jalal. It was on Jalal's flimsy dinghy that Jamil's true education began. He learned the language of the river, how the water tasted before a storm, the rhythmic lift and drop of the net, and the silent, grinding economics of trade. He saw Jalal and the other villagers selling their catch cheap to the middlemen who came from the city, only to watch those middlemen earn 10 times the price just a few kilometers downriver. It was the same exploitation that had driven them from their home, merely wearing a different guise. For 3 years, Jamil saved every single coin, protecting the small hoard with the fierce intensity of a parent protecting a child. Aisha, now 11, stayed in school only because Jamil insisted, bringing her discarded books from the tea stall owner's son. The turning point, master of the current. By the age of 16, Jamil had saved enough, a meager sum but enough, to buy a decrepit leaky Kea Noka, a small ferry boat. It was barely seaworthy, but it was his. He didn't want to fish. He wanted to trade. Jamil's business model was brutally simple and shockingly honest. He would paddle his tiny boat up and down the river in a 15-kilometer circuit, connecting villages with markets. He offered the fishermen and farmers a price slightly higher than the city middlemen and sold to the merchants at a price slightly lower than their usual markup. His reputation became his capital. People trusted him. He weighed honestly, paid quickly, and crucially, he was reliable. His days were long, starting before dawn and ending long after the moon had risen. He was a solo logistics king, oarsman, accountant, salesman, and laborer. The Padma, once a symbol of his lost home, became his road, his office, and his university. His first major breakthrough came when he moved beyond fish and into bulk cargo, rice, jute, and mangoes. He took a calculated risk, borrowing money from a local moneylender, a high-risk move, to buy a single, larger, engine-fitted boat. This allowed him to triple his range in transport capacity, turning a profit in weeks. At 22, he was Jamil, the owner of a small fleet of 3 boats. He paid off the debt, hired 2 helpers, displaced youths like himself, and, most importantly, brought his mother and sister out of Uncle Kareem's small, cramped house. He rented a small but independent house and watched his mother's face regain its lost pride. Aisha, now a brilliant student, was preparing for university entrance exams. Jamil had made sure her world was stable, a contrast to his own turbulent youth. Jamil's vision broadened. He saw that the true money was in infrastructure. He founded Padma Parivahan, a logistics company. He didn't just move goods, he stabilized the market. He invested in a small riverside warehouse to store perishable goods, ensuring farmers weren't forced to dump their produce during a glut. By the time he was 35, Jamil was no longer the orphan boy. He was Jamil Sarkar, a respected figure whose name held weight in the regional commodity markets. His business spanned the entire Lower Padma region, employing hundreds of people. His fleet now consisted of several large, well-maintained launches and a small network of trucking that connected the river ports to the major highways. He had started from zero, a few leaking planks of wood and a fistful of coins, and reached the apex of local commerce. The legacy. The final act of Jamil's triumph was not an act of revenge, but one of profound grace. He could have easily bought back the ancestral land in Rupnagar, legally forcing his aging, now impoverished uncles out, fulfilling a youthful fantasy of retribution. He chose not to. He let the past remain buried. Instead, Jamil Sarkar purchased a large, beautiful plot of land on the bank of the river, not in Rupnagar, but in Shantipur, near where his uncle lived, a quiet tribute to the man who, however grudgingly, had given them shelter. He built a grand, modern house for his mother, with a veranda overlooking the Padma, the river that had been both his curse and his blessing. But his most enduring legacy was for the village that he had been forced to flee. Jamil established the Raman Foundation in his father's memory. Its first act was to build a modern school and a small, subsidized ferry terminal in Rupnagar. The terminal was designed to ensure that the farmers and fishermen of that village received fair prices, bypassing the exploitative middlemen, a silent, perpetual correction of the injustice he had suffered. Jamil often stood by the wide expanse of the Padma, watching his launches move like purposeful water striders. He remembered the 12-year-old boy, exiled and broken, setting out on a rickety boat. He hadn't just built a fortune, he had corrected a history of injustice, not by taking back the soil he was owed, but by becoming the master of the currents, a true son of the river, reaching the apex through sheer will, honesty, and the enduring power of a mother's love and a sister's hope.